1 year ago tomorrow, Donald Trump took the oath of office and took the United States in a new direction. The Trump White House has had a dramatic effect on many things, including U.S. foreign policy. And nowhere is that more evident than the Middle East. Our senior international affairs correspondent, Owen Alterman, has more.
The Middle East, January 2018. The Palestinians furious. Israel elated. A Saudi crown prince on the rise. An Iran that may be on the rise too. ISIS, all but defeated. Russia, with more influence than ever. And you could argue it's all because of this man.
It is time to officially recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel.
The Iran deal was one of the worst and most one-sided transactions the United States has ever entered into. Frankly, that deal is an embarrassment.
We want to thank you and Saudi Arabia, but hundreds of billions of dollars of investments into the United States.
1 year after taking office, U.S. President Donald Trump has shaken up the Middle East. On Jerusalem, on the Iran nuclear deal, on funding for Palestinian refugees, Trump has changed U.S. policy. On Saudi Arabia, he has put the United States on the side of ascendant Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. But some of Trump's actions, especially in Syria, point to a different approach, much more in line with past U.S. President Barack Obama, keeping Americans mostly out of the Syrian war and out of making Syrian peace. In most of Syria, that has left Iran, Turkey, and Russia in charge.
Thanks to the efforts of Russia, Iran, and Turkey, it was possible to prevent the disintegration of Syria, to prevent its capture by international terrorists.
The state of play in Syria has brought Iran to the border on the Golan Heights. Iranian proxies, even Iranian soldiers, just miles away from where the Israeli army sits, with Iran trying to set up permanent bases on Syrian territory.
We are making an effort to prevent this consolidation on the northern border, both through military efforts and international efforts.
So is Donald Trump's America squeezing the Palestinians, dancing with Saudi Arabia, and taking on Iran? Or is this an America First plan, with the U.S. backing away from the Middle East mess? 1 year into the Donald Trump era, it's not clear. But in 2018, Middle Easterners from Jerusalem to Riyadh to Damascus to Tehran will be looking to find out. Owen Alterman, I-24 News.
Let's bring in my panel. Matthew Brodsky is a senior fellow at the Security Studies Group, and Robin Biro is the field director for the Fulton County Democratic Party in Georgia. Gentlemen, thanks for being with us. And no doubt about it, Trump has shaken things up in the Middle East. We heard from Defense Secretary Mattis saying earlier that terrorism is no longer the primary focus of national security. Maybe that's because ISIS has been practically defeated in Syria and Iraq. Raqqa, the ISIS capital, captured. Obama, who initially referred to ISIS as the Junior Varsity League, said that it would take years to root them out. And Trump did this in less than a year. He says it's due to his policies of letting the military do its thing, easing the restrictions of the rules of engagement. Matthew, do you agree?
Well, yeah, what he did was Trump came in and basically when it came to Syria and it came to the war on ISIS, he basically put the Obama plan on steroids and accomplished that mission of pushing back on ISIS in Syria and Iraq a lot quicker. And now he seems to be, at least with Secretary Tillerson's speech the other day, want to be turning toward lessening Iran's influence in the region. But again, this is something along the lines, including the nuclear deal, which he wants to renegotiate, and the Israeli-Palestinian peace process. These are all major steps that that Trump has taken that I believe are a lot better for the United States and are quite a welcome reversal from the Obama years.
Robin, can Trump take credit for helping defeat ISIS?
I always give credit where credit is due. I do want to state that I am a veteran Army Ranger. I was overseas in Afghanistan in the conflict. And I want to say that the other panelist was correct that Donald Trump he did basically pick up Obama's plan. But what I want you to understand is that anyone with half of an understanding of the conflict knows that this plan, we had largely defeated them by the end of 2016. So the job was pretty much already done. Donald Trump gets credit, though, continuing to use Obama's plan, as the other panelists said, and follow through and listen to the ground commanders that were already using that existing field plan. I'm glad that he kept that field plan, held to his campaign promise to listen to his military leaders. He's done that, and I give him full credit for doing that, Michelle.
All right, Robin, thank you for your service. I'm going to have to be nicer to you. Matthew, one of the reasons that ISIS was defeated was backing the Kurds. And then when it came to the Kurds' push for independence, the U.S. let them down. Was that a strategic mistake by the Trump administration?
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with that move, but it all depends on what direction the Trump administration wants to move. And right now we've heard a lot of talk about a new plan, especially from Tillerson, but we're not entirely sure exactly what those actions mean. There is, incidentally, a very significant difference between the Trump administration's approach to ISIS and that of Obama's, I must say. One was that the Obama administration and people like Ben Rhodes were micromanaging the military down to very minute levels, and Trump gave a lot more ability to the military commanders in the field to make a lot of calls. You can argue on both sides, which one is better than the other. But in Syria, again, the Kurds, we have another problem again in Afrin in northern Syria, and the Trump administration is playing it very delicate.
No shortage of problems. Robin, one of the big campaign promises the president kept was moving the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem. Now, it's still to be determined, well, saying that that's going to happen, rather. It's still to be determined what impact that's going to have long-term. But short-term, it's severely strained relations with the Palestinians. Was that the right move, then?
I don't think so. I always saw that as largely symbolic. I just can't. I already spoke about this before, that I disagree with this move. I understand why he did it. It was a campaign promise that he needed to fulfill, and he did that. So I understand why he did it. I just question whether it was the right thing to do, Michelle.
Matthew, could this be the thing that shakes this up, and after decades of other strategies not working, this could maybe yield results? What do you think?
I absolutely think that that's the case. And I mean, the fact is, President Trump has essentially declared that the world is round and that gravity exists. He's accepting what facts are, and he's simply not going to play by the fiction that the Palestinians keep playing with and that the Europeans basically seem to embrace. So, yeah, Jerusalem is Israel's capital, and this, and according to what's been leaked about the Trump administration's peace plan that apparently has Mahmoud Abbas all up in arms and Saeb Erekat, his chief negotiator. These are all plans that deal with what reality is. I mean, the fact is there's not going to be a full return of refugees to Israeli territory at the end of a peace agreement. The sooner that we get to a point where we simply understand that's reality and stop playing this charade, the sooner peace can come. It won't happen if we still stick with what we already know has not worked up till this point.
Got to touch on Iran quickly. Another campaign promise was to rip up the Iran deal. Not quite there, but certainly taking tough measures against Tehran. Robin, are they tough enough?
You got me there. That's a really difficult issue. And I understand, like he said, that was another promise. He railed against the Iran nuclear deal. And I just don't, I'm not really sure. But one thing I want to mention, though, is that, the State Department right now is in a state of flux. And I just got information that Rex Tillerson, actually, I just found out, prints Donald Trump's tweets and considers them when he's issuing decisions regarding foreign policy. So I'm concerned hearing that, Michelle.
Robin, gonna have to agree with you there. The Trump Twitter diplomacy is very unorthodox. It's yielded positive results, negative results. It's certainly a unique take. Robin Biro, thank you very much. And Matthew Brodsky, thank you both for your time.
Thank you.
All right, coming up on the show, a deadly crash on an iconic beach. What police think caused a driver to ram into a crowd in Brazil. That's ahead.